Every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting them down like, wow, these brothers gotta wear a dress.
Dixon is suing Tyler Perry, the individual, as well as his production studio.
Some people thought Dave Chappelle was just messing around, but now a jaw-dropping lawsuit just flipped the script, and guess what? Turns out Dave may have been telling the truth the whole time. So what was Dave really warning us about? And what does this explosive new lawsuit reveal that's got Hollywood running scared? Let's break it down. Lately, Tyler Perry's been swimming in drama. And not the kind you see on TV. More and more artists are speaking out, claiming he doesn't actually back other black creatives like he says he does. And just when you thought it couldn't get messier, boom, it does. Now, Perry's wrapped up in a lawsuit that's turning heads. Actor Derek Dixon just came for him, and he's not playing around. He's suing Tyler Perry for a wild $260 million. It was serious retaliation. According to court docs filed on Friday, June 13th in Los Angeles and shared by People, Dixon says things got dark while he was working on Perry's shows, The Oval and Ruthless. He claims Perry built a relationship with him that felt straight up controlling and way out of line. Dixon played a character named Dale on The Oval and Ruthless, and at first, everything looked smooth. He said Tyler Perry gave him solid acting roles and even promised to help produce his pilot. But according to Dixon, things took a sharp turn. The moment he didn't return Perry's romantic vibe, everything flipped. He claims Perry started pressuring him, and when he didn't give in, his career got hit hard. Now, Tyler Perry's legal team is firing back. His lawyer, Matthew Boyd, told People that this lawsuit is nothing but a scam. He said straight up, "This is someone who got close to Tyler Perry just to run a scam." Boyd added, "Tyler won't be bullied, and we believe these false claims won't stand." But Dixon's not backing down. He says that for months, Perry kept texting him, sometimes sending flirty messages, other times promising to help him land gigs and turn his whole life around. Then in November 2019, Perry gave him a small role on Ruthless. But things allegedly escalated fast. In January 2020, Dixon claims Perry S. actually altered him at his house. And it didn't stop there. Just a month later, Dixon landed a regular spot on The Oval. But when he read the script, something felt off. He said the way his character's story was written, it was vague, like the ending was left open on purpose. The lawsuit says Perry straight up told him that if he didn't flirt back or play along, his character could be written off. Just like that. And just like that, it happened. At the end of The Oval's first season, Dixon's character Dale was blasted with 4 shots to the chest. Dixon says this wasn't just dramatic writing. He believes it was a move by Perry to shake him up, like a warning. According to Dixon, Perry hinted that Dale could survive, but only if Dixon kept him happy. After filming that brutal scene, Dixon claims Perry called him into his trailer, and that's where things allegedly got dark. He says Perry pinned him against the wall and groped him aggressively. But that wasn't the end. Dixon said something similar went down again in October 2020 during a cast trip to the Bahamas. Once again, he claims Perry groped him, and by December, things were falling apart for Dixon. He went to see a doctor, and the diagnosis was serious, signs of extreme stress. He couldn't sleep, had constant stomach pain, and his cortisol levels were way too low. The doctor ended up prescribing Zoloft, a medication used to treat anxiety and depression. Then came June 2021. Perry allegedly invited Dixon to his house again, saying he wanted to talk about the Losing It pilot, the same one he'd once promised to help produce. But Dixon claims that visit turned into another nightmare. He says he was altered once more. In the 5 months that followed, Dixon said his mental and physical health spiraled. Severe anxiety, depression, nausea, stomach issues, it all hit him at once. Eventually, he was diagnosed with PTSD. And during that dark time, he says people tied to Perry, described in the lawsuit as fixers, tried to smooth things over. Their solution? Offer Dixon a raise if he'd stay quiet and keep working on The Oval. They also promised that Perry would buy the rights to produce Dixon's show, Losing It. But by January 2023, Dixon said he'd had enough. He told Perry he was moving to California to put some real space between them. He kept working on the Oval for a bit longer, but ended up walking away during the final season. And that decision, it cost him. He says he lost nearly $400,000 in potential earnings. Now Dixon is taking it all to court, filing a lawsuit packed with serious claims. He's demanding a jury trial and asking for a massive $260 million in damages. Meanwhile, Dave Chappelle's name is back in the mix, and he's been calling this stuff out for years. Chappelle once hinted that Tyler Perry played a big role in what happened with Kevin Hart too. And when Kevin found out Chappelle had aired that out in public, things got heated. Kevin confronted him directly. Now folks are starting to question what's really going on between Kevin and Dave, and whether their friendship is all smoke and mirrors. Then it got messier. Kevin Hart appeared on TV dressed in feminine clothes, and people weren't having it. The backlash hit fast. Why? Because he had previously said in an interview that he'd never do anything unprofessional or humiliating just to climb the Hollywood ladder. He'd always tried to separate himself from what others were willing to do for fame. But this move had everyone second-guessing everything he said. After that wild moment on TV, Kevin Hart made another unexpected appearance. And this time, it looked like he didn't care at all about protecting his image or dignity. That hit Dave Chappelle hard. Dave has always stood up for Black entertainers, calling out the way Hollywood treats them like pawns. He's big on respect, and seeing Kevin like that didn't sit right with him. Chappelle couldn't stay quiet. He spilled every bit of tea, exposing exactly who, in his words, tricked Kevin into showing up like that on national television. And according to Chappelle, all signs point to Tyler Perry. He believes Tyler has been pulling strings behind the scenes, grooming Black artists in a way that makes people uncomfortable. That theory picked up steam when a Twitter user decided to go public with her opinion, and it went viral. She didn't hold back. She dragged Tyler Perry's films, calling out what she saw as a clear bias in his storytelling. But she didn't just tweet, she made a whole video to break it down. In her clip, she compared Tyler's movies to what she called low-budget, shallow content, basically saying they lacked depth and did more harm than good. And she wasn't done there. Her criticism just kept going. The woman didn't hold back. She straight up said Tyler Perry is scared of white folks and that this fear is shaping the way he tells stories. Her bold claim hit a nerve, and soon others jumped in, sharing their own takes on Tyler Perry and the message behind his work. These viral videos started sparking questions. Could there be more going on behind the scenes? Some even wondered if there's a hidden truth that's pushed certain dark-skinned actors to turn down roles in his projects. That's a serious claim, and it's got people thinking twice about who really benefits from Perry's success. No doubt Tyler Perry made a huge splash in the game, rising up from Atlanta's theater scene and cashing in big with his Medea films at the box office. But fame doesn't come without some mess. Behind the spotlight, whispers have followed him for years. Word is his ego grew so big that he even butted heads with major industry giants, including none other than Oprah herself. And in a cutthroat place like Hollywood, where shady deals and power plays happen daily, some folks are starting to believe Tyler Perry might not be as squeaky clean as he seems. After killing it at the box office, Tyler Perry shifted gears and took over television with his hit sitcom House of Pain. But the smooth ride didn't last long. Drama hit hard when things got messy during talks for a syndication deal and the spinoff Meet the Browns. According to Deadline, Perry fired 4 writers, but all because they dared to ask for union contracts. That move sparked serious backlash across the industry. One of the writers, Terry Jackson, didn't stay quiet. She said, "We were good enough to create over 100 episodes, but when it's time to benefit from syndication and spinoffs, he lets us go, unless we accept a terrible deal." Perry's clapped back. He said he'd just write everything himself from then on, and that's exactly what he did. But the drama didn't stop there. In 2015, the actor union SAG-AFTRA and Actors Equity dropped a bomb, banning their members from working on Perry's stage play, Medea on the Run. Why? Because Perry's company refused to sign union contracts again. It was all about keeping control, but many in the industry saw it as greedy and unfair. Sure, Perry's been laser focused on running his empire and stacking profits, but the way he handles business, a lot of folks aren't here for it. Right after House of Pain and Meet the Browns blew up, respected African-American journalist and cultural critic Jamila Lemieux took a stand. She penned an open letter to Tyler Perry, and it got published by NPR. And in it, she didn't hold back. In her powerful open letter, Jamila Lemieux didn't sugarcoat a thing. She called out Tyler Perry for leaning too hard on tired stereotypes in his work, and she made it personal. Through her words, she captured the discomfort many feel watching those portrayals on screen. She wrote, "The country has laughed at one of the most important members of the Black community, Mother Dear, the beloved matriarch. I just can't quite get with seeing Mother Dear played by a 6'3" man with prosthetic breasts flopping in the wind." She added, "Our mothers and grandmothers deserve much more than that. Heck, our fathers and grandfathers deserve more too." Lemieux even gave Perry his props for standing up to Hollywood's gatekeepers, saying, "Mr. Perry, you told the Hollywood old guard to kiss your backside, and I appreciate that, brother." But she didn't let him off easy. She pointed out that a lot of Black viewers share the same critiques about Perry's work that white critics have been saying for years, and she's not alone. Acclaimed director Spike Lee has also taken shots at Perry, loud and clear. He's never been shy about saying Perry's characters are soaked in stereotypes, and he's made it known he's not impressed with how those roles shape the image of Black communities on screen. Spike Lee didn't stop there. He kept the pressure on, pointing out that while Tyler Perry was breaking records, it was happening off the back of movies soaked in stereotypes. From Lee's view, the industry could rise higher if it moved away from these shallow, over-the-top stories filled with flat, predictable characters, and viewers have started picking up on the same pattern. Tyler Perry's casting choices and the way he writes his characters have stirred real conversations. Critics say there's a noticeable trend. Perry often puts dark-skinned actors in villain roles, while light-skinned or white characters get painted as the heroes. That's got folks side-eyeing his business strategy and wondering what message he's really pushing. The perception isn't just talk, it's triggered heated debates within his fan base. People are questioning whether his stories reflect real representation or if they're just playing into old, harmful narratives. Even comedian Chris Rock called it out in public. At an event, he cracked a joke, but there was truth underneath it. He pointed out the obvious lack of respectful, kind-hearted, dark-skinned Black men in Perry's films, and that joke hit hard because plenty of people had already been thinking the same thing. Chris Rock didn't hold back when he called out a pattern in Tyler Perry's movies, pointing out how dark-skinned boyfriends always seem to end up as the villains. Not complex, not layered, just straight-up bad guys. To really drive his point home, Rock brought up none other than Tupac Shakur. He said Tupac might have been a political leader if he were alive today, but then again, Tupac might be in a Tyler Perry movie right now, and not in a good way. Rock joked that Tupac would probably be cast as the bad, dark-skinned boyfriend. Then he hit the crowd with some dark humor, adding, "I would hope he's a senator, but he might be kicking Jill Scott down a flight of stairs." That joke was sharp, but behind it was a serious dig at Perry's storytelling style. Rock was shining a light on a trend that's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. His comments lined up with what Spike Lee had said years earlier, both men calling out what they see as a harmful pattern in Perry's films. Together, their criticism sparked deeper conversations about race, character portrayal, and the messages being sent in mainstream Black cinema, and just how that might be shaping viewers' perspectives. When you really look at the entertainment industry, one thing becomes clear. Colorism has been a deep-rooted problem for a long time. And in recent years, Hollywood's been getting dragged into the spotlight thanks to viral social media movements that explode from Twitter to mainstream news in no time. Some believe that the fall of powerful producer Harvey Weinstein was one of the first big cracks in the system, exposing just how dark things can get behind the scenes in Hollywood. Back in 2017, multiple serious allegations hit him all at once, pulling back the curtain on a toxic culture that had been hiding in plain sight. That wave helped launch the Me Too movement into the global spotlight. And once it took off, Hollywood couldn't hide anymore. Scandal after scandal followed. In 2019, comedian Kevin Hart had to step down as host of the Oscars after some of his old homophobic tweets resurfaced. It was a big moment, and it came right around the same time as the Oscars So White campaign, which called out the industry's serious lack of diversity. That campaign forced the world to pay attention, demanding Hollywood finally give real recognition to people of color and underrepresented voices. These days, Hollywood's polished image is cracking, and what used to be the glamorous walk of fame is starting to look more like a walk of shame, with empty promises and missing stars. Flashback to a February afternoon in the 1940s in America, a major moment in history. Actress Hattie McDaniel became the first Black person to win an Oscar. She took home Best Supporting Actress for her role in Gone with the Wind. It should have been a groundbreaking celebration, but instead it was tainted by the harsh reality of racism. Despite her achievement, Hattie wasn't treated like a star. At the ceremony, she was forced to sit away from the other guests, isolated at a segregated table during what was basically a whites-only event. That night should have been about honoring her talent, but it turned into a painful reminder of how deep racism ran in Hollywood. And here's the sad part. Even 80 years later, the film industry still hasn't fully escaped that legacy. Discrimination still pops up in different forms, and while there's been some progress toward diversity, many believe it's nowhere near enough. The spotlight may shine bright, but the shadows haven't gone anywhere. The 2020 Oscars once again got clouded by racial controversy, a storyline that's become way too familiar, both for audiences and those grinding inside the industry. One of the most talked about snubs that year, Lupita Nyong'o. Despite delivering a haunting, powerful performance in Jordan Peele's Us, she didn't even land a nomination. Fans and critics were stunned. Moments like that shine a bright light on how racial bias still creeps through the halls of Hollywood, even in its biggest spotlight, and the problem doesn't stop at award shows. It runs through the films and series too, with Tyler Perry's work often named in the conversation. Critics say his movies are loaded with stereotypical roles, especially when it comes to how dark-skinned characters are portrayed. A clear example, Steve Harris as Charles McCarter in Perry's hit Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Charles was a wealthy lawyer, but instead of being a solid man, he turned out to be cold and heartless. He confessed to having another woman, disrespected his wife Helen, and then straight up threw her out of the house. Scenes like that have kept fueling debates about the kinds of roles dark-skinned actors are handed, especially in Perry's stories. But Dave Chappelle sees another side too. He said before that the public's idea of Hollywood doesn't match the truth, and that behind the scenes it's filled with charming, lovable faces, including Tyler Perry. The question is, how much of that charm is just a cover? Dave Chappelle once made a chilling remark that once you see these people's real faces, you won't be able to stand them. Why? Because, as he put it, they're too diabolical to bear. He compared it to the same monster the Me Too movement tried to warn us about. Dave said, "They hate the monster for how it fit, and I hate that monster for how it eats. But my God, man, it's the same monster." And what makes Dave different? He's one of the few willing to call it out. No filter, no fear. Meanwhile, Kevin Hart had once told the world he wouldn't wear a dress on camera. He claimed to have personal boundaries. But then came his Saturday Night Live debut, and boom, he hit the stage in a dress, catching everyone off guard, even Chappelle. Kevin brushed it off, saying he thought it was funny and that no one forced him to do it. But was it really that simple? For Chappelle, that moment hit deeper. It took him 8 long years to return to comedy, and during that time, he was navigating a world that felt fake, hostile, and twisted. When he finally made his public comeback, it was on Oprah's stage, and he didn't waste a second, He opened up about the intense pressure he faced in Hollywood and how it nearly broke him. He talked about how everything around him seemed fake, manipulative, and dangerous. That infamous dress moment, he had one too, and it changed everything. Chappelle said it led him to a harsh realization that Hollywood, and maybe even forces bigger than that, were actively trying to humiliate and break Black men down, piece by piece. Then Dave dropped a cryptic clue, a small detail, easy to miss but heavy with meaning. He hinted at a darker agenda brewing behind the scenes, one most people won't even catch unless they're really paying attention. Now, it looks like Kevin Hart is feeling the same heat Dave Chappelle's been warning us about for years. Some fans believe Kevin's starting to crack under the same Hollywood pressure that's tamed comedy giants before him, legends like Eddie Murphy, who many feel were once raw and real until the system got to them. People still point to that moment on Saturday Night Live when Kevin wore a dress. They see it as a turning point, a symbol. And Chappelle called it out long ago, saying comedians are often pressured into roles that chip away at their identity, their image, their power. Now Kevin's name is popping up in conspiracy talks, with some folks questioning if he's tied to the so-called Illuminati, that secretive elite group believed to be pulling the strings in the entertainment world. And things got even weirder when Kevin had that uncomfortable exchange on the Kelly Clarkson show. While joking about doing small roles for cash, his comments left people squinting, wondering if there was more truth behind the laugh than he meant to show. During the Kelly Clarkson show, things got awkward fast. Clarkson casually mentioned doing things she wouldn't normally consider for money, but when she joked that the people offering the cash should just come forward, Kevin Hart jumped in quick. He said, "It's an open dialogue. We can talk about anything," while putting his finger to his lips, like a hush gesture. That tiny move, it didn't go unnoticed. Viewers saw it as more than just a joke. Some say it looked like a subtle warning, and it added fuel to the theory that celebs aren't always free to speak their minds on live TV. And from that point, the speculation just kept growing. Fans began saying something strange is definitely going on behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Tyler Perry's films, especially ones like Acrimony, continue to stir up intense debates online, especially on Twitter. Some viewers slam him for constantly showing Black women caught in toxic, painful relationships. Others argue he's just telling real stories, reflecting the struggles many Black women actually face. Either way, one thing's clear: Perry knows how to push buttons. His films keep audiences talking, clashing, and questioning what's really being shown on screen. Still, critics argue that even with Tyler Perry's positive impact on the Black community, his work needs a harder look. They say his films and shows often put Black women in painful, negative situations where they're either suffering, being mistreated, or stuck in harmful relationships. Others point out a deeper pattern. Perry's stories tend to push the idea that happiness or success only comes when characters live by respectability politics. That means being polite, quiet, and traditional. Basically, behaving the way society says good people should. And if they don't, the message seems to be they won't make it. But it's not just actors raising eyebrows. Over the years, plenty of Black comedians have shared their own issues with Perry too. Cross-dressing has become a recurring bit in Black comedy, with male comedians throwing on wigs, heels, and dresses to get laughs. The humor usually comes from the contrast. Big, bold men acting totally out of character. And yeah, it gets the crowd going, but at what cost? Because while it might seem harmless or funny on the surface, using cross-dressing as a punchline can send deeper messages, but ones that mess with identity, masculinity, and how Black men are viewed in media. And that's something more and more people are starting to question. As Dave Chappelle once questioned, and not quietly, why is it that so many successful Black male entertainers have ended up wearing dresses at some point in their careers? He brought it up again during a memorable sit-down on Oprah, asking why this pattern keeps popping up in the industry. It's not just random. Take Martin Lawrence. He made bank starring as the lead in the Big Mama's House franchise. Then there's Eddie Murphy, who played multiple female characters in the Nutty Professor films. It's a recurring thing. And Chappelle made it clear he thinks that's no coincidence. But out of all the names in the game, one stands out more than the rest: Tyler Perry. Perry didn't just wear a dress, he built an empire in one. His Madea character turned into a franchise worth hundreds of millions. But what raises eyebrows even more is that while Perry's breaking box office records, he's also gained major support in right-wing evangelical circles, a rare crossover for a Hollywood figure. That blend of mass success, influence, and the choice to play a dress-wearing matriarch over and over again, it's left people asking, what's really behind the Madea mask? Tyler Perry didn't just find success in the gospel stage play scene, he flipped that lane into a full-blown takeover of the film industry, bringing his signature style and characters to the big screen and building a massive audience along the way. Even his book, Don't Make a Black Woman Take Off Her Earrings, made waves, landing a spot on the New York Times bestseller list. That kind of crossover success isn't just impressive, it's rare. But it also sparks a serious question. What's really behind this phenomenon? Why do so many Black entertainers take roles that flip traditional ideas of masculinity? And why does the audience eat it up? Some believe there's a deeper strategy in play. When Black men are shown in more feminine or submissive roles, especially on big platforms, it might lower the threat level for certain viewers. In a world where hip-hop often promotes dominance, power, and grit, these cross-dressing performances could be serving as a counter-image, something softer, more digestible to certain audiences. It's not just comedy, it's shaping how Black masculinity is seen, and that has a powerful effect whether people realize it or not. For years, Hollywood's been dragged for pushing harmful stereotypes that shaped how the world sees Black people. A lot of folks have pointed out that with limited roles and locked doors, Black artists were often backed into a corner, forced to take on whatever parts they could just to survive and stay in the game. While things still aren't fully equal in the industry, today's performers do have a little more control over what roles they take. And yet, what's surprising is that some still choose to put on the same costumes, literally. Cross-dressing roles haven't disappeared. In fact, they keep popping up. Kevin Hart is one of the biggest names to take that route, and it didn't go unnoticed. But now more people are pushing back. A growing number of voices are speaking out, saying they've had enough of seeing Black men in dresses on screen. They believe it's no longer just a joke, it's become a tired pattern. Some argue that with all the pressures already affecting how Black masculinity is viewed, these repeated roles only add more confusion and maybe even damage to how Black men are represented in media today. And honestly, there's no reason to keep feeding into this cycle any further. It's frustrating, even heartbreaking, that we're still seeing more examples of Black men in dresses on screen. A lot of people feel like this trend has hit its breaking point. Our society is already dealing with so many influences that chip away at the image of Black masculinity, and this just adds more fuel to that fire. For decades, Hollywood played a major role in pushing damaging stereotypes that shaped how Black people were seen by the world, especially by those who didn't know any better. These images stuck. They shaped minds. They carried weight. And during that time, a debate surfaced. Were Black artists really choosing these roles, or were they just doing what they had to do to survive in an industry that didn't give them many options? For many, the answer was survival. It's time to question what's being shown and why. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Until then, stay sharp.